Good Lord, what is happening in there?
Aurora Borealis?
Aurora Borealis. At this time of year, at this time of day, in this part of the country, localized entirely within your kitchen.
Yes.
May I see it?
No.
Seymour! The house is on fire!
No, Mother, it's just the Northern Lights.
Well, Seymour, you are an odd fellow, but I must say...
Happy Father's Day. A lot of things have happened lately in the news and stuff, but I believe that this definitely is the one thing that I will express my opinion on. Because it's really, really bothering me.
It brings a tear to my eyes. To my eyes.
This right here, this is the old $200 and 200 crowns bill. This right here, this is the new one, and the new one has a card on it. A card, for those of you who don't know, a cod is a fish. It's nothing personal, Mr. Cod. It's just that there's just something that I feel has to be addressed. Yeah. Anyways.
I dag lanserte Norges Bank de nye 100 og 200 kronersedlene.
I saw the news. I was quite shocked that they actually did that. We have had this guy on our 200 kroner bill since 1994. This is Christian Birkeland, a Norwegian scientist. He was nominated for the Nobel Prize in Physics 7 times, I believe. Held over 60 patents. He also managed to explain the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis. Steve Chapman, this British scientist that for a long time ridiculed Birkeland, but ended up retracting that and apologizing in the 1970s. Now, Birkeland himself, he died 1917. So it's 100 years since his death, and then we swap him out with a fish. And that's not even half of it. He figured out how to get nitrogen dioxide out of air somehow. I'm no scientist. I'm just explaining what I know about this guy and why, I don't understand half of the things he did, but I think this is probably one of the few people that Norway can be really proud of, that has accomplished a lot and made a significant impact on the world. He co-founded Norsk Hydro, which is known as Yara. They named their newest vessel after him. It's automated electronic cargo ship, and also the cranes and everything will be electric, so that you will save the environment and stuff. And it's named after him because of his way of thinking. I was disappointed when I saw that they had changed it, because the argument, the first thing, the anchorman, the first thing he said is that we have gone from this to this because fish and the fishing industry used to be a part of our history. Now, last time I checked, Norway was the second biggest exporter of fish on the planet, second only to China. It's not in our past, it's still very much here. Is that it? You know, this guy, and it's kind of a sad story. I guess that's why I feel extra bad about it, because that story really fascinates me. When I went to high school, I learned that Christian Birkeland died of suicide in Tokyo. He spent his last years in Egypt, actually, but During World War One, he went from Egypt to Japan because he was going back to Norway, but there was a war in Europe at the time, so he wanted to bypass that. So he went to Tokyo. He was staying there, and he was taking Veronal. Veronal was actually one of the earliest barbiturates, medication for sleep, and he also took it because he was ridden with anxiety. The therapeutic dose was 10 to 15 grains. That's 0.65 to 0.97 grams. I've read that Christian Birkeland, when he was found, he had 10 grams in his system. And 3.5 to 4.4 grams was considered deadly, although some patients reanimated 10 days later. They were just sleeping for 10 consecutive days. Now that's a barbiturate. The Russian Tsarina Alexandra Feodorovna, the Tsarina Alexandra, she allegedly confessed to a friend that I'm literally saturated with it. This drug, because after a while it will take more to get the same effect. Recently, I read an article, one of the biggest experts on Christian Birkeland. According to his research, it was probably a heart stroke induced by this medication, because it could do that. But it's just very sad. But his hotel room, Christian Birkeland's hotel room, was filled with new suits. He had bought statues. He had made plans. It was clearly, and there was no gun on his nightstand, as quoted by other writers. So I don't know. But I think it's sad the way things developed. That's why I think I actually felt this strongly about it. But then I researched the fish. And now it gets interesting, because at first it was like, okay, they took this guy and they swapped him with a fish. That's pretty insulting. But then again, fish is such a staple food here in Norway, but not just here. So it's not unique to Norway. And at first, the anchorman, he said that the fish was, it was because fish had been a part of history. The head of the National Bank, he said that he considered these bills as sort of calling cards. So what is more likely to resonate with a foreigner, this or the Viking ship and the cod? So I looked into the history of the cod in Norway. And actually, the Norwegian word for cod is torsk. Torsk is from the old Norwegian language before, because actually after the Black Plague, we were colonized by the Danish people and subdued for like 400 years. But before that, we had our own language. And it was called tusker, a contraction of the word turfisker, which we today would call tørrfisk or stockfish. Now, stockfish, like Vikings weren't just pillaging and raping and stuff. They weren't just trading in fur and iron and those things. One of the biggest commodities was the stockfish. And that trade actually survived the Black Plague. So it was still going on while we were losing like half our population like this. We were still exporting stockfish. So in a way, you can say it's part of our history. And it's really interesting to me to see everything that's happened. I came across a documentary.
Mr. Stenberger, you are here as a representative of the World Food Programme, and you have distributed several kinds of food all over Africa. What do you think about the Norwegian stockfish, your personal opinion?
Eh bien, écoutez, واحد الجوعندة قوم مليح ياسر هذا. هذا واحد الذوق فيه شيء عجيب.
About how we spent millions upon millions exporting the stockfish to Alger to help out the population there. Interesting footage. And if you heard about bacalhau, you know, in Brazil, Portugal, Italy, even Spain, I think, that's usually from Norway. So I don't know. I think it's sad to see Christian Birkeland go. I think it was sad, actually, when he went. I think there's more to that story, but I'm no Hamish Webb. When we put it all together, I guess I'm okay with it. You know, I don't really care that much, but I was just, I saw the news late, and it was almost, when I heard, this was broadcasted on the 30th of May, and when I heard, it was almost like the day of his death, like his anniversary, his centennial. And that's pretty sad, actually. But yeah, so he explained Aurora Borealis, and from that, you know, we have learned a lot. And I guess, and he was a maverick. He was a renegade in science. He didn't care what like the consensus was. If he had a theory, he would pursue it, and if he was convinced it was true, he would stick to it. And I believe that those people who did that, though, like Copernicus, like Einstein, like Tesla, like these people that did that, they brought us to where we are today. And I have 1 year to exchange this. I have 1 year to exchange this, but I'm keeping this one because I think there's a lot to learn from his story. He was a married man, and he got divorced because he was too dedicated to his work. You know, you can learn from that. You can learn from the fact that he believed in himself. You can learn from the fact that if you have anxiety and sleep issues, maybe you should try to figure out why you have that instead of taking more and more drugs and end up dying. You know, you can learn from that as well. There's a legacy. There will be, this will be in my possession, and there will be a boat launching next year. Groundbreaking. And there's a reason they named it after him. Let me know what you think about this type of video. I never done one quite like this before. I was more ambitious, but I had some technical issues, so that's why I ended up with this format. I do have a couple of subjects I want to explore and maybe do a better job next time. I don't know, but let me know what you think. I was just trying this out, and also I'm using this mic. Let me know what you think about the audio, because the footage you saw in the introduction, I did not use that. That was the camera microphone on the Sony RX100 Mark V. And last but not least, I don't have a catchphrase.
And what would you call such a vessel?